Thank you again for joining our symposium. And this session, we're focused on real-time graphics for storytelling and engagement. And our first presenter is Marcio, from University of Central Florida. So Marcio, take it away.
Okay, so my name is Marcio Goncalves. I'm an assistant professor of animation visualization at University of Central Florida, School of Visual Arts and Design. My presentation is about GPU renderers and game engines and how we can use them in a more traditional animation program. I'm going to tell my experience using them in the last 2 years. So basically, at the emerging media at the School of Visual Arts, we have two tracks. We have the animation visualization track, which is a personalized, more individual track, and then we have the character animation track. The character animation is more like 3D focused. It's more like a team-based cohort. The one where I teach the most animation visualization is really about the individual artist find their own voice. They can choose 3D, 2D, stop motion, motion design. I have a background in 3D. I used to work at Autodesk, so I try to help my 3D students to get the best they can get from their thesis. We tend to use industry standard software and techniques here, Autodesk Maya, Houdini, Toon Boom. Unreal was only recently introduced, and the program culminates in an individualized animated thesis and exhibition. So this is a three-course sequence structure. We have a pre-production design, a advanced animation thesis production, and animation thesis exhibition. I teach the two first courses, the pre-production and the thesis production, since fall of 2023. I had 142 students in total. Of those, 53 were 3D animation students, which is 37% of the students. So basically, why I started looking for alternatives, that's because we have been using Maya, and we had a lot of problems with Arnold. It was created for big crews, not for individual artists or students, and is really slow for the students, even in GPU mode. The students were not able to finish the films in the time or the quality they wanted because of that. Even the GPU mode in Arnold is kind of slow, and it does not have all the features of the CPU mode. For example, the toon shader is CPU only. Even in 2025, the integration in Maya is not 100%. It still feels like a plugin sometimes. And students have been spending too much time addressing technical problems instead of focusing on the artistic aspect of the thesis. So I started giving some extra lectures and one-on-one conversations about alternatives to Arnold they could use. I made presentations about Redshift, Octane, Blender Cycles, Blender EV, and Unreal Engine. So after those lectures, my students made some choices. About 58% decided to not change and keep using Arnold. 54% decided to use Redshift. 36% decided to use Unreal. 2 students, 9% decided to use Blender EV. 0 students decided to use Octane. That was basically because the integration with Maya is not really good as the other ones. So the choice reasoning of the students were to keep Arnold, no change. Familiarity, they were confident on their skills, and they were not confident they could learn a new renderer in time. And some of them were afraid of using second software. Redshift, they love the speed, they love the easy to use, the great Maya integration. A lot of them really wanted to use the toon shader, which is really fast, very versatile, and they felt confident to use due to my extra lectures. Unreal, again, students love the speed. The students who decided to use Unreal, they wanted to work in games in the future. 100% of those students were doing game environment projects. The Blender EV students, they wanted the speed, but they had years of experience using Blender before they came to our program. Here are some thesis screenshots, the results of the ones using GPU options. Practical results. more ambitious projects, much better results, highest grades in class. The students who decided to use those newer renderers, they had much higher quality final work. We had a higher completion of the projects without changes and revisions due to technical problems. We had more time for better and proper feedback and critique from the instructor and classmates because most of them were able to have almost everything done around 1/3 of the semester. And most important, I think more creativity and iteration by the students as the speed let them try different things to really act more like directors and not just be obsessing on finishing something in time. And that gave improved technical skills for the students as they had to learn to use an external engine or a renderer. So the screenshots here, some of two of the best projects. Very quickly, I wanted to show. I don't know. Can I show you here? Can you guys still see?
Maybe we can save the video playback for after because we have the
Yeah,
three other
I was going to
questions to
show
do.
only
So
10 seconds, but I can stop here. That's fine.
yeah,
That's my
that's
presentation.
great.
I'm Topher Maraffie from NC State's MadTech program. This is hyperreality research in a virtual production volume. In this, we're creating the illusion of the real-world actor affecting the virtual world, such as this digital shadow. And we're applying concepts from Edward Gordon Craig's Uber Marionette and Curtis Hickman's Hyperreality, who we've had come in and guest lecture to our students. In this work, we're using a live link connection from the motion capture suit into the Unreal Engine scene so that we can use a hidden metahuman to trigger different boxes that will bring up life-size metahumans reacting to the live actor. Our students are working with motion capture in our virtual production lab, and we're going to continue developing these types of interactions in the coming semester.
Fantastic. All right, and now I should be able to bring up this video and share its audio.
Hello, and welcome to our presentation about creating a real-time virtual speaker. I'm here to introduce our team. My name is Dr. Eva Ziemsen. I'm a professor of virtual production, a researcher, and a filmmaker. We have Dr. Carlos Vilches, who is co-founder of Eugenia Virtual Humans. We have Sofia Garcia Robert, who is an Unreal Engine artist, and we have Hans Guevara, who is CEO of Eugenia Virtual Humans. And this project and collaboration came to be when Carlos invited me to speak at a conference in Mexico. And unfortunately, I was unable to attend in person. So I thought the natural substitute would be my metahuman in real time presenting from Toronto to Mexico. So that's what started this project, and together we conceptualized this artistically and technically. It started with taking an existing scan that I had from several years ago done in Toronto for the base of my face. And I've had a few metahumans in my day. For example, the ones where you had to amalgamate existing faces. Then there were ones that looked like me, but the hair wasn't great. Even faceless avatars, all the way to today, which looked a lot more like me. And Sophia's actually going to talk about this custom metahuman creation with much better hair. And we used an environment that I had used previously, so this was a good set, and we worked with a DOP to block out lighting shots, and we also experimented and worked with trying to create motion capture both for body and face. And spoiler, we were only able to really get her to blink in the end, but we're still working on it. And Carlos is going to talk about the pipeline.
Hello everyone, I'm Carlos Vilchis and I will explain you quickly how this solution was made up. In the Tornado side, we have the human instructor who is driving the face using a live link application on an iPhone. And also we have a webcam, a simple webcam that is connected to the same computer. So both devices are connected through a VPN. In this case, we use NordVPN. NordVPN connects directly to a Mexico City computer. So in the other side, this computer at Mexico City sees the devices like local devices and the video from the webcam like a local webcam. In the Windows computer, we have installed a Dollars Mockup, a very cheap and simple solution, very easy to democratize, in the same computer that has Unreal Engine in a Windows. So both devices receive the content like local devices and process it through Unreal Engine to drive the metahuman, that in this case is our virtual instructor.
Hi, I'm Sofia Garcia Robert. I'm an Unreal Engine technical artist, and I'm gonna talk to you about creating the metahuman. Okay, so after Eva scanned herself, she sent me the scan and I cleaned it by adding some Blender passes. In there, I did some things such as creating custom hair, custom makeup, and refining the scan. So then I could use the Unreal Engine metahuman workflow to optimize the scan. After that, I made some UV transfers for the textures. So that was using some point references, and it was to keep the real skin on the textures. So after that, I purchased an outfit from the Unreal Engine's marketplace, and I customized it by adding a metallic specific material so it looked exactly just as she had to. So after adding some environments and lights, Eva came to life.
Hello, my name is Hans and I am the CEO and co-founder of Eugenia. Eugenia is a company that is specialized in virtualizing humans. We decided to create our own solution scanning and a pipeline that can create a photorealistic avatar in less than a few weeks. We are serving different industries such as game developers, VFX, virtual production, and AI. We have clients like Netflix, Amazon, Electronic Arts, among others. We have been digitalizing CEOs, and they are using that digital twin to interact with their own teams, give speeches, or even talks. Stay tuned in our social media website because we will launch a platform soon in which you can be able to interact with amazing people. So thank you very much and talk to you soon.
Wow, already so many questions to ask. All right, we have one more video to share, and this one is from Johannes.
Date in a Teeter. This sonic shadow bazaar brings together artists, musicians, and storytellers from across Carnegie Mellon University Schools of Art and Music, Dietrich College of Humanities, and the Integrative Design, Arts, and Technology program. Artists exploring themes of animism and traditional Chinese ghost stories present shadow plays woven through a network of spatialized sound and live musical performances. Featured at the historic WQED studios in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on Saturday, December 7, 2024, their works blend traditional shadow play techniques and interactive computational arts practice. Under the direction of Carnegie Mellon University professors Johannes DeYoung, Annie Hui Sin She, and Gang Liu, this interdisciplinary arts event highlights the creative works of students in Exploded Ensemble and Animated Storytelling, Chinese Ghost Stories, and Shadow Play, a hybrid studio course taught between the School of Art and the Department of Languages, Cultures, and Applied Linguistics.
So thank you all for your presentations. It's a great collection of examples of bringing real-time graphics to use. And I think my very first question for everyone is, to what degree have you seen students gravitating to the use of real-time as you've worked with students in your various projects? My impression is that many of our undergraduate students in particular come to us out of high school where really their primary real-time experience has been playing video games, and that's not necessarily their goal or even that's how they visualize it. And every single one of these demonstrations is a non-video game application of real-time graphics technologies. And so I'm curious to hear from you about how students have kind of received this and gravitated or, absorbed this or not. So I'll try to go in order. So we'll start with Marcio.
I think that's a very good question. I think my students were a little bit relieved. They felt like, hey, this is what I was looking for. Because as you said, almost every one of those students are gamers. So they have a contact with 3D by the first time playing a game, which is real time. And they come to school and they learn, okay, I can create stuff in Maya, but then I have to wait. Why? Like, it makes no sense for them to have to wait. And I remember when I was showing like Redshift and how you could optimize in a way that was almost real time, and then showing Unreal, they were like so happy. I could see the happiness on their faces. Like, some students actually told me that that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted from the beginning, like to be able to do in real time. So I think we are bridging a gap between the expectation and the reality of production.
And that's perfect segue to go to Eva and your team, because I mean, talk about bridging a gap with real time, Toronto to Mexico City.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I mean, that was what our goal was, and part of the reason too is, we all obviously get invited to conferences and international collaborations, and many of our collaborator schools have a volume wall. And, I actually got a quote from the company where you can upload your holographic self. They're very expensive. And so I thought there's got to be a way to at least show up as an instructor in real time. And so we worked on that. It took a lot of late nights and long meetings and tinkering with the tech. And maybe if you like, Carlos can dive into the technical workflow a little bit, because that was critical. And we had a few applications running for that, but whenever you want to address that.
well, definitely, but I'm curious as to how to what degree have students been involved in your project particularly? Because I know that you've got, a great team
Yeah.
here, but it
Well,
almost
no
seems like
students. This was
okay.
just me. I know you put my institution. I'm very, proud
Mhm.
to mention them, Humber Polytechnic. I've run several real-time pipelines with them before. We have a new virtual production graduate certificate. And previously, I've run a pipeline between the game program and a film program where we made 14 films in 14 weeks for $100 each, using Unreal completely online. It was during the pandemic, and we, had them work in essentially a real-time animation pipeline in Engine. And yeah, that's a whole other project. But this was just me as an instructor trying to push my own artistic ability and boundary and what could be done, because I have trouble being able to travel to different conferences all the time as a mom and stuff. So necessity is the mother of invention. And that is pretty much what we did here, or attempted to do. I will say it's harder than it seems.
No, absolutely. So I totally want to circle back on that, because there's a huge opportunity, I think, for us as instructors to implement this kind of thing. But I do want to circle into Toffer and Johannes too, because your projects are essentially like they're live activations, and kind of blend, being in person, but utilizing real-time graphics in an in-person type of scenario. So I just, Toffer and Johannes, if you had anything that you wanted to share regarding, student receptivity to that, and then I can swing back to Hans because he had his hands up.
Yeah, so I've been teaching metahumans and developing the pipeline for over 2 years now. So we've kind of got it down to where, like, I've got 2 classes right now that they're making metahumans of themselves through photogrammetry, and then using performance capture. And the new thing that we're doing now, which is in this project, is making it live in the wall. so that there's actually some interactivity, and they're all coming up with scripts to interact with their metahumans in the wall. So I mean it's quite a lot, but I think that it's a small subset of what's inside of Unreal Engine. And so, some of the students who might have come from my game course would actually know more than a lot of the students that are just coming fresh, but they're focusing just on sequencer and sort of the metahuman creation process, and then animating it. So the interactive stuff is the new stuff that is a little bit requires more blueprints and design to make that work effectively. And we're working with some interesting concepts from Curtis Hickman and the Void type of hyperreality type of things only applied to a virtual production volume instead of VR. And so and that's I think where there's some interesting things happening.
Thank you. And then Johannes?
Yeah, I've been in recent years trying to emphasize the kind of interoperability and like multimodal approach to using some of these tools, and how, we might be able to work in, say, a real-time graphics engine like Unity could be the backbone of what a student's doing, but then we're sending a spout or siphon feed out to a tool like Touch Designer, and then interacting with musicians or live performers and having this kind of improvisational element become a part of the work, which I think for the students has been well. I'll say from my perspective, I see the students respond very well to these systems that allow for a kind of improvisation and chance, and in terms of the creative work, it really stimulates surprising new directions. And we produce these events at the end of the semester just to try to encapsulate some of the things that we're working on, but we're always in a state of like iteration and experimentation throughout the semester, just kind of trying small things and seeing how they interface together, and see where that leads us.
Yeah, and I think that's a really great point that you brought up about, you're talking about Siphon and the integration and all that. And it's going to be a great segue back to Hans, I think, and it was part of Eva's team in talking about the technology. But again, with the idea that a lot of students come to us, particularly undergrads out of high school, and real time is video games, it sometimes feels like it's difficult to connect when you're, okay, this is internet protocol, and these are TCP/IP addresses, and there's this other protocol, and then there's this other, and like, no, really pay attention, because this is computer interaction. This is what, but putting a project together where, okay, there's this live event as an ultimate goal that people are going to interact with, and like, yeah, if you just, you could use this technology to make this connection. And then you look at something like the team project here with the remote teaching. I mean, there's so many intertwined technologies, and I saw on your graph you're using NDI as well as motion capture, and I don't know if this goes to which Hans is about to share, but I was actually curious from that. It looked to me like you were setting up in a way where you were VPN transmitting essentially the live link data from the mocap to the remote location. And so the metahuman was being rendered at the remote location based on data being transmitted over the internets. Hans, you had your hand up earlier, so I want to hand it
Yeah,
to you.
sorry. I just wanted to make like a quick perspective about the students, because as a perspective of a business owner, for example, Sophia, in this case, that she was like the main artist for this project that we made with Dr. Eva. She used to work with us when while she was studying. So that was like a really cool thing, because we saw in her that she had really good basis in terms of motion capture, in terms of real-time graphics, facial animation. And once she went out of the university, we start working a lot with her, but we can see like this, how can I say this, like this hunger of still learning more and more and more and more. And that's why she started like connecting different dots. And this profile is really good for our companies because we need to be creative to do this type of projects, because as you mentioned, like connecting and having all this thing in 2 different countries is crazy, and basically it's possible.
Yeah, if you let me to add, the interesting thing is how, as you mentioned, Nick, there's a lot of skills that maybe some people is missing in education. As you said, protocols, technology is there, and all the products, all the technology right now uses as the basic computer scientist technology. So for this specific project, we were looking for a way to democratize, because people is like, yes, but I don't have a Rococo suit. I don't have a HMC. I just wanna, as Eva said, I just wanna talk in your event from my home with basic stuff. So that way we tried like, okay, let's try to use the technology as an advantage and try to tunnel the information coming from Eva computer without any software, just the MacBook. The MacBook, and the iPhone, and the VPN do the work. So the computer with Unreal Engine, the superficial computer there was thinking that the webcam was connected, but actually was NDI coming from Toronto. And the protocol from the iPhone was the same thing, using TCP/IP and tunneling the information, and actually works super smooth. We was thinking that maybe will be an issue, but this technology is like the NDI is designed for that. But the problem is people doesn't know that NDI is free, that you can do amazing stuff just trying to replicate devices using these things. And yes, the idea was to prove, yes, in the future, somebody will do this, even in the metro maybe, and he will speak just with a simple device in the other side of the world to be represented by his own avatar.
Yeah, Sophia.
Oh, thanks so much, Nick. Well, I can talk about my personal, point of view, like of when I was a student, just as like they were saying, I had to learn, like a lot to get to the point where I am right now. But one thing that is really good is to have all the tools that Unreal Engine and Epic Games have, like given to us on this past years, and all the things and great technology that is always emerging and every day actualizing. So it's really interesting. And for me, it was, I don't know, like breathtaking, all the things and amazing results that we could be able to get. And every day it gets better. So I think part of the point of view of a student who has all of these free tools and all these affordable tools that can be used to investigate and learn and all those kinds of things, it's really cool. And it's even cooler when you have that how can I say that, like that hunger of knowledge. And it's really great to have all those tools. And I think that the next generations and years will be pretty interesting of really, I don't know, the new students, young people, to use these tools and get out there to, I don't know, to the game. And it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I think so. I think you really touched on something important there about that hunger to learn. And sometimes it takes a project like these to spark that hunger. Like someone might not intuitively be interested in some of the deeper protocols and the connectivity or 3D scanning or for that matter, retopology or anything like that. But then when a project like this comes along, I was going to ask Marcio if, based on the results of introducing these alternate GPU-based rendering techniques, it seemed like you were introducing it as part of the students' essentially a capstone project, kind of late in their program. Is that something that, based on what you're seeing, are you going to start introducing that earlier? Or is there the folks that stayed with the CPU renderer? I'll just call it a CPU renderer. Are they jealous? Are they going to?
Yeah, so basically, I don't teach the technical courses where they actually learn Maya. I only teach the thesis course. But the result was so good that I'm planning to give more extra lectures during my pre-production design class and during the production design about Unreal, about Redshift, about Blender EV, even Blender Cycles, which is GPU based too, much faster. So I'm gonna give a lot of focus this semester because the students who actually use Arnold, a lot of them actually told me they regret because some of them wanted to use either Redshift or Unreal, but they were afraid. They were afraid of having to learn a new technology, and it was up to them, but some of them do regret. So I hope I can have more students go in the real-time direction, GPU direction next semester.
Nice. I see Toffer's got his hand up, so go ahead.
Yeah, just to follow up with a couple of those. I mean, students don't know what they don't know. And many students coming into our program want to be Pixar animators or they want to work on games. They don't ever think that they could use a game engine to do animation, which is essentially what we're introducing them to with this pipeline. And then we make it interactive in a live situation. But that's a totally new thing for them. And, I think it's the future of animation.
Fantastic. So I feel like we can go a little bit long on this, but I'll ask for one last short answer. And it's going to be the same question I asked in the last session I was hosting. And that's, what is your next change? Like, what's the adjustment you're going to make next to what you're working on? And I'll start with Marcio and then go to Eva's team and Toffer and Johannes.
Okay, my change actually is not just about the GPU real-time rendering. I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna put AI in my courses. I'm still like struggling. It goes back to the other presentations we had, but I'm really enjoying some advances where we have the AI is more art. You can art direct AI a little bit more. For example, that Mid-Journey where you can have like a sketch drawing and ask to paint like I don't know, like a Dungeons and Dragons paint, but it uses your drawing. That's amazing for pre-production. And I'm researching how we can use maybe some of AI videos together with 3D. So I'm all about using those tools to make the work of my students faster so they can focus on the artistic side and not to get lost in the technical aspect of it.
Thank you. How about Eva and your team?
Yeah, I'll start. I just want to say that just like in film editing, you don't stop editing, you just run out of time. So that's kind of what happened to us. We had the conference was happening, people were flying places, there were actually people going to the conference live. So that was obviously a priority. And, so I think time was a factor because there's a lot of just technical problems. They made it sound very easy and that graph looks so lovely and clear, but like actually doing things, there's a lot of like, why is this not working? You know the drill. So I think my wish, my hope is I just want to drive my metahuman, possibly even with text prompts. And that's the goal. I'd like it to show up on a web browser. I've talked to Unity programmers and things like that just to essentially my own synthesia with my own custom metahuman. And then I would like to add Unreal environments and immerse myself. We were going to do that. I was going to actually show up in some of my students' film sets that I was talking about in that presentation. So those are like lofty goals. I'll throw it to Carlos, Hans, and Sophia if they want to add anything.
Well, I think also, just like Eva said, it's a project that it's worth working more on it and refining all the workflows because as for instance, like for a first approach that we had, it was really good. I mean, every workflow needs refining and it needs to be worked on and to have a lot of trying and not trying and have all those mistakes so you can get better. So actually, I think it's a great opportunity to improve all the workflows that we did before and optimize it in order to have a great product, like a final product, because it's really interesting what was actually working. That was all the, for example, all the facial mocap from Toronto to the city of Mexico. I mean, there are a lot of things that can be improved, and also about metahumans just as I was saying before, the technology is always evolving. So it's going to be really interesting what we are going to be able to do with this project, implementing all the new technologies and with refining our actual workflow. Yeah.
Yes, in my perspective, I think this type of technology will be more frequently in the day by day, and we have like a couple of examples now in the B2B. For example, there are like companies in Mexico that they want to digitalize the CEOs because they monthly need to give like reports to all the team, and sometimes they don't have the time to make a video, or sometimes even they don't like to speak in front of a camera, and they need to do it. So that's why they told like, can you make a digital replica of them? And we said like, yes, completely, we can do it. And we have two different ways of let's say, doing this type of content. One is training an AI with all the information that the CEOs have in their minds. And the second one is to have like a just a box where they can just put the script, and the CEO will give the script. So we have that two ways of doing it. And I think that will become so often, even in the day by day with us, like just answering an email, just answering a call. That will be like the next step of the technology. And we are really happy to start doing this type of projects, for example, with Dr. Eva, and doing this type of test will help us to have like this first level of innovation, and then bring it to the next one, So yes.
All right. Doesn't look like Carlos has anything specific to add at this point, so I will hand off to Toffer or Carlos. Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm good.
I know we're short for time. I just published a paper on, and you can find it on my website, tofamaraffie.com, that goes into details of the future work. We're working on it this semester in my courses with some grad students, and I just talked a couple weeks ago to the Royal Shakespeare Company to talk to them about collaborating on the project. So really getting some Shakespearean actors in there doing the scene, recording the metahuman parts, and then basically puppeteering them with a live actor through interactions. That's kind of what is the next steps.
Nice. And Johannes, final answer.
Yeah, thanks. I've been looking at old forms, like pre-cinematic forms, to kind of direct my future thinking about animation. I teach in the electronic time-based media area at Carnegie Mellon, with a specific focus on animation, but I'm really thinking of it more as like a philosophical inquiry and animated art practice, and kind of thinking about what's the expanded field of animation. And so thinking of like platforms or ways of engaging with animation that live outside of the cinematic frame is a real interest of mine. I have a partnership that's forming with someone in our robotics institute, so thinking about ways of actualizing ideas of animation in other modes, other forms, kinetic forms, so robotic forms, or through the voice, or through sound. Those are all really interesting areas, to my mind, to explore.
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much. All of these projects are absolutely fascinating, and looking forward to seeing what comes next. So thank you all, and thank you for helping me get through the audio issue there at the beginning.